The NCAA finals were unbelievable. But what was the best match of the entire tournament? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name is Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling, here for a wrestling discussion and a recap of the 2021 NCAA Wrestling Championship Finals. There were 10 finals matches starting at 133 and ending actually at 125, which was a weird choice. I actually said that I would have started at 141 potentially to end at 133, or even 149 to end at 141. I think that would have been the best match, and honestly, it was the best match of the entire tournament. I'm going to get to that match recap as well as every single other match recap. But first, I want to tell you every single champion, show you the list from 125 over to heavyweight. And I didn't expect all of them. There were quite a few that I did expect. And even though I expected it to happen, didn't mean I think that it was just going to be a walk in the park. And it sure wasn't at so many of these weights. But there were quite a few surprises. I mean, 174, Carter Starocci beating Michael Kemerer. That was absolutely not something that I expected. I'd said that multiple times. Not something that I expected. But before I get into 133, the first match, I want to tell you that the photos in this video are actually from Sam Janicki. I'll link up his site. He takes phenomenal photos. Took photos of the entire championships. And the video is actually from where I was sitting. So this is all my filmed footage. And I had one of the best seats in the house. So I had some of the best views, and I can't wait to show and share with you every single thing that I saw in these championships. So at 133 pounds, Roman Bravo Young and Dayton Fix, the number 2 versus number 1 seed. And there were quite a few upsets starting at 133, with RBY defeating Dayton Fix 4-2 in sudden victory. Now, RBY walked out to the song Girl on Fire, which was kind of funny. And it's always interesting to see what the walkout songs are for each of these wrestlers. Just love hearing what they, kind of a little bit of their personality as they come out to the finals. It was a scoreless first period, but they were so, these two were so going at each other. And the thing, one of the most surprising things about this match was when Roman Bravo Young actually rode out Dayton Fix. Dayton Fix to his bottom, and Roman Bravo Young rode him out. I don't know the last time Dayton Fix was ridden out by anybody in college. I mean, even in high school. That's just crazy to me that Roman Bravo Young was able to do this. He ended up getting the escape in the third period with a minute left. So he is actually up 1-0 going into the third period, back on their feet. And so it's looking like Roman Bravo Young is going to win. He's up 2-0. Dayton Fix was going to have to get a takedown to end up tying up the match. But guess what? Dayton Fix was hit with Roman Bravo Young was hit with a stalling call with 42 seconds left on the clock off of Fix's shot, which I thought was just bizarre. I thought Roman Bravo Young was still on the attack, but okay, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Dayton Fix is on the attack, and okay, he can take a stall call. And clearly he's not going to get a stall call with another just 30 seconds on the clock, but boom, the ref hits him again as Dayton Fix shoots Roman Bravo Young out of bounds. Kind of pushes Roman Bravo Young out. He hits him with 2 stalling calls within 15 seconds. Oh, it is a horrible call. But anyway, so it sends these guys into overtime. It's tied 2-2 with the riding time. But that really did not ultimately end up mattering because Roman Bravo Young gets in on Dayton Fix's leg with about 20 seconds left on the clock and ends up taking Dayton Fix down. And the crazy thing here was, Roman Bravo Young took him down, but could not believe that this had happened. Roman Bravo Young has been quite the competitor the whole year. Winning the Big Ten championships against Austin DeSanto just a couple weeks ago, and then beating Dayton Fix here, which a lot of people didn't think it was possible. They thought there was no way. And you see in this video, he just can't believe it. Even on the podium, couldn't believe it. I was so excited for Roman Bravo Young. Quite the great competitor here. Dayton Fix gave it his all too, and I'm sure he will be back next year with quite a lot for to answer to, and I'm sure he'll be looking forward to that. At 141, Nick Lee and Jaden Eierman. Holy cow, this is another same exact score to the match, 4-2 actually. Very interesting here. And Nick Lee ends up beating Jaden Eierman by a score of 4-2 in sudden victory. So Jaden Eierman had won at Big Tens, and Nick Lee gets the upset here. And quite the path for these two. Jaden Eierman he was just on fire up to this point. He had a tech fall, 2 pins. He pinned Tariq Wilson, which I know there's a little bit of controversy to that match, but he pinned Tariq Wilson, who Wilson ends up coming back and majoring Sebastian Rivera for third. Just want to throw that out there. Kind of an interesting thing to talk about. And Nick Lee beat Zach Sherman, then beat Sebastian Rivera. And here they are again in the final. So, look, there's nothing here that happened in the first period, but there was so much action. So much action in the first period. I mean, there were multiple times when I thought Eierman was dead to rights, taken down, and his defense, his ability to get out of those positions that Nick Lee's putting him in, and reverse goes for Jaden Eierman getting in deep on Nick Lee a couple times, and Nick Lee able to defend off his shots. This was the best match of the entire tournament, in my opinion. Not just the finals, but the entire tournament. This was the best match. This was the best match we could have received. And I wish that there were team point implications really on the line here for Penn State and Iowa. There weren't, because Iowa had clinched the finals, or clinched the championship up until this point. But anyways, Eierman escaped in the second period to get a point on the board. And Lee actually took neutral in the third period, which, to be honest, that's what I expected him. Eierman wrote him out at the Big Ten championship, so I expected Nick Lee to take third. Even if he took bottom and escaped, he was still going to need a takedown. So why choose bottom? May as well try to go for the takedown in the third period. Well, what happened is he ended up getting a takedown to start the third period, and he takes down Jaden Eierman. Now, the crazy thing was, this Eierman escaped. They went into overtime, went into sudden victory. It was 2-2 heading into overtime, and then Nick Lee comes out pretty quick, gets a takedown on Jaden Eierman, gets the inside trip, and wins the national championship. This was a match many people did not expect. I called that this was probably going to happen. That was what I expected. I mean, Nick Lee even couldn't believe in himself. It was just that crazy of a match. But these two are fantastic competitors. Jaden Eierman has already posted on Instagram saying he'll be back. You know, that's the thing with these seniors, is they have the chance to come back if they want to, and it's a tough choice, you know. Going through all that these guys have gone through, you know, Eierman has tried for the national trophy time and time again, just hasn't been able to get it. Finally makes it to the national finals. I mean, could just taste victory and isn't able to get. That's a tough decision to come back again and go through all that training. But props to Jaden Eierman, and I mean, he was just on fire. And more props to Nick Lee. I mean, he just put it away. Loved seeing that match. Loved seeing that victory. And Austin O'Connor, you know, this was an ACC guy in the finals with Austin O'Connor and Sammy Sasso. And Sammy Sasso was the guy to beat. You know, O'Connor was the number 2 seed, and he had an undefeated season up to this point, and last season even a great season. But it was kind of in the air of whether he was able to win any huge matches. You know, being in the ACC, he didn't get a lot of crazy tough matches like a Sasso would in the Big Ten, but he proved that he is just that top competitor. He beat Sasso by a score of 3-2. And both these guys, you know, I cannot say this about every single weight, but both of these guys are straight-laced competitors. They both have so much sportsmanship, and just towards each other and towards every other competitor. They go out there, they compete. You know, Sasso was able to ride on top, almost had a cradle locked up on Austin O'Connor, but O'Connor just kept putting his head up, was able to actually not get cradled up, just like Sasso pulled a cradle. I think that was in the semifinals that sent him into the finals. Racked up 1 minute and 9 seconds of riding time, actually. So to go into the third period, Sasso actually chose bottom, and I was like, I think it's actually a good idea to choose bottom. I think he can escape within 9 seconds to secure the riding time and the extra point to be up. And he did. He actually escaped within 5 seconds in the third period. And what happened here is Austin O'Connor ends up coming over the top, even though Sasso is in on a shot in the third period. But Austin O'Connor ends up coming over the top, securing a takedown, and then eliminates the riding time. So Sasso escapes, and he has to get a takedown. It's 3-2 at this point. 3-2 at this point. No riding time, and it's ticking down. Time is ticking down, and Sasso is just attacking. He's in on a shot, gets on a shot on the edge of the mat, but ends up being called no takedown. I know there's some controversy here. A lot of people think that this should be a takedown. I'd like to hear what you think. Was this a takedown on Austin O'Connor? The refs kind of said that there was some reaction time, and so because of that reaction time and not a full control of Sasso having full control, there was no takedown on Austin O'Connor, even though he was on his butt. And I'll say, look, props to Austin O'Connor. I mean, these two just wrestled a hardcore match. And if they wrestled this match 5 different times, I think we'd have 5 different outcomes. I honestly do, just because of how tough these two are. But Austin O'Connor pulled off the NCAA championship this year. And I saw these two guys after the podium, and I did not see this from every competitor. But, Sasso walks off the podium and just shakes Austin O'Connor's hand. He's just saying, like, you're the best today. You're the best this weekend. You're the guy to do it. And I think those two are dead even with each other. I honestly do. But ultimately, like I said, Austin O'Connor was the one to pull it off at 157. Almost halfway through the finals, David Carr and Jesse Dellavecchia. Holy cow, number 3 and number 4 seed. Both these guys not technically expected to make the finals just based off their seeds, but their rides here. Jesse Dellavecchia pinned Ryan Deacon in the semifinals. He stuck him. He was stuck. Did not expect that to happen over Deacon. David Carr beat Hayden Hidlay in the semifinals. Another tough loss for Carr, but a great battle by David Carr. Now, what happens here is with these guys, so Carr is up in the second with an escape and then gets in on a quick double. So he's in on a quick double and ends up securing the takedown. So he's up 3-0. In the third period, he keeps on the pressure and is actually able to ride out Dellavecchia to win. But one of the best parts about David Carr and his match was clearly the celebration. And you may have seen this celebration circling around online. Just saying, I got the video pretty cool. You can see it over on Stalemates. Me and Stalemates pretty good buds, and sent it over to him because I know he's a big Iowa State guy. But David Carr ends up doing the cartwheel and gets tackled by Metcalf onto the mat. What a phenomenal celebration. One of the best planned celebrations that I've seen in many, many years. Great 4-0 win by David Carr. At 165, number 8, Shane Griffith, and number 3, Jake Wentzel. Shane Griffith ended up winning this match 7-2. And there's just so much to say about this match. So many people didn't expect Shane Griffith or Jake Wentzel to make the finals. Now, I'd said multiple times, Shane Griffith was undefeated up until this season, up until the Pac-12 championships when he was actually majored by Anthony Valencia, which was a surprising loss that he had. And Jake Wentzel, another guy who guys didn't expect, but I had said he pretty much outright beat Mekhi Lewis, or he was beating him until the injury default. And, the unfortunate, there's so many things to be said about this. One, I'll mention Mekhi Lewis. It's unfortunate that we didn't get to see him wrestle the entire championships. He pulled out due to an injury. He was hurting on the mat. And I really feel for the guy. The good thing is it's a quote-unquote free year so for everybody. So he still has a chance to win a couple more national titles, but I do hope that he gets better. Jake Wentzel, or the other thing is, Shane Griffith defeated Alex Marinelli in the quarterfinals. Same place that Alex lost to Mekhi a couple of years ago. Shane Griffith defeated Alex Marinelli 3-1 in sudden victory, and Marinelli ended up defaulting out of the tournament. Not sure exactly what happened there. I didn't see him get hurt, but I don't know. It's unfortunate that it happened. He ended up defeating number 5, Zach Hartman, 9-2 in the semis and making the finals. And Wentzel, his ride was over Peyton Robb, then beat an undefeated Keegan O'Toole by decision, and Ethan Smith in the semis. This was a cool weight at 165 because there were 3 guys all from the same exact region of Pennsylvania. Zach Hartman from Bell Vernon, Ethan Smith from Latrobe, and there was also, Jake Wentzel from South Park. Pretty cool. But these two, the weird thing here is Jake Wentzel just kept going upper body with Shane Griffith. He kept going upper body, and I don't understand why he kept doing that because, he's got he's huge upper body, but he wasn't going to throw Griffith. I just didn't expect it. Maybe he was going Vincenzo Joseph style or something like that. But anyways, Griffith took advantage in the first period by securing a takedown, but Wentzel was able to escape. Wentzel gets another escape in the second. It's tied 2-2. In the third period, Griffith actually chooses neutral. Gets his head inside on a single and fights for a takedown. Ends up actually also getting some back points and ends up winning the match. He won the match by a score of 7-2. I believe he had the riding time as well, is kind of what that came down to. But ultimately, even though Pitt challenged some of the back points at the end there, Griffith did still come up on top with the win in one of the most, you've heard the story. Stanford is dropping their program. This is Stanford's last ever match as a national championship. How sad is that for the program? After raising $12 million, after having 7 national qualifiers and 2 All-Americans with 1 national champion, they are dropping the wrestling program. The entire stadium was cheering, "Keep Stanford wrestling. Keep Stanford wrestling." Stanford guys were crying throughout the arena just from the emotions of how heavy this moment was. Keep Stanford Wrestling was trending top 5 on Twitter in the entire world. And they're still dropping their program. What a win for Shane Griffith. What a way to go out. Whether Stanford does somehow end up deciding to keep their program or go somewhere else, he's going to have great luck. And the crazy thing is he almost didn't wrestle this season. Very glad he did. At 174, Carter Starocci defeats Michael Kemerer 3-1 in sudden victory. Did not see this coming. Michael Kemerer majored Starocci at the Big Ten Championships. And that's kind of what I expected. Kemerer was the top dog. He walked out to who let the dogs out? I mean, he is the top dog, right? At 174. And Starocci, Penn State just knows how to get wins in the finals. Kale knows how to get his guys to win in the finals. It is darn impressive, and that's the truth, okay? That is the truth, is Penn State, they end up going 4-4 in the finals, didn't win the national title, but they know how to get guys to do work. Unbelievable. And it goes down to momentum, too. With RBY, with Nick Lee both getting huge victories and upsets, and every match has been an upset until this point, that keeps the momentum rolling. And in the arena, there were a crazy amount of Hawkeyes fans. They were all around. It just was surprising how many. There was like a little cluster, tiny little cluster of Penn State fans. Wish there was more. I was yelling from the floor, obviously, but it's crazy. It was a scoreless first period. Starocci's in on a shot at the end. He's in on a couple shots, which shocked me. He just kept getting in, but Kemerer is also, he just has great hips. He's great defense where he's able to keep Starocci off of him. And Starocci ends up getting escape in the second period. So he gets the escape in the second period, and gets in another shot for an almost takedown at the end of the second. Almost had a cradle locked up, but gets out of bounds and ends the period. In the third period, Kemerer gets a quick escape, tries a few attacks, and on Starocci, ultimately not able to get anything. It's tied 1-1 here, going into sudden victory. But Carter Starocci gets in on the takedown and ends up winning the national title. Gets on that quick double and in on that single, gets off to a double and wins the national title. I was in awe. This was a match that I did not see coming, especially after Kemerer had majored him, as I said. Now, Kemerer is somebody who I hope will be back for the upcoming year. He has the eligibility to come back for another year. But wow, did not believe that. At 184, I know this will be, there's a lot of controversy here. And this is another match where you started getting some weird calls. And actually, from here on out, all the top seeds, not the number 1 seed, but the better seed, I guess I should say, end up winning the last 4 weights. Not the first 6, though, which is kind of unbelievable. But Aaron Brooks ended up defeating Trent Hidlay by a score of 3-2. It was another scoreless first period. And actually, the cool part was every single match, like almost every single guy was in it, or at least it was a decision. No pins, no techs, nothing in the finals, not like we've seen in recent years. So there was no. I would say Steveson and Spencer Lee were pretty dominant in the finals. I'll get to Spencer Lee's match. There were some close things, but for the most part, every other match, every guy was in it. Scoreless first period. Brooks chooses bottom, stands up, and puts Hidlay straight to his back. This was something. This was a crazy toss here, and end up getting pretty much nothing out of it. It's just an escape, and then Hidlay it just got the reversal, and then Hidlay ended up getting the escape, and there was no backs there, which was crazy to me, but okay. We get into the third period, and Hidlay gets the escape. It's 3-2 at this point. Or it's 2-2 at this point, 2-2 at this point. Brooks is just attacking and ends up getting the stall call on Hidlay. So Hidlay ends up getting a stall call on him and lets up a point. So Brooks is up now by a score of 3-2. Hidlay stays in on the attack, is on a leg, and he's just attacking Brooks this whole time, which I know the arena was just surprised that Brooks had no stall calls on him. Didn't get any stalls. He may have got one, but the refs just weren't hitting him. Just because he was kind of staying active, but Hidlay was kind of the aggressor in the last 30 seconds. I'm not going to lie to you. He pulls Brooks in from out of bounds. This was the moment that really surprised me, is because Brooks looked like he grabbed the edge of the mat, and nothing was called there. And the match kind of ends a little bit after that. Hidlay's not able to score anything. Brooks wins 3-2, but man, what a darn close match. And there are 3 matches left at this point, and 3 fun ones. AJ Ferrari. What do you think about AJ Ferrari? This kid is wild. He's goofy. I mean, if you saw his interview about deadlifting 665 pounds, that was kind of wild. But anyways, he won by a score of 4-2 over Nino Bonaccorsi. Ferrari, I mean, he had a great path. Say what you want about the kid, he can win. He beat Tanner Sloan, who he'd beat at the Big 12 Championships when he won that. He beat Jacob Warner, the 5 seed, and then he beat Miles Amin, the 1 seed. This may have been one of the best paths out of anybody at the tournament. Bonaccorsi also had a great path. Number 11, Aiello. Number 3, Norfleet. And then number 26, Jake Woodley. He had kind of a easier path once the number 2 seed lost, but didn't take anything away. Still beat Woodley, who beat the guy who beat the number 2 seed, right? So it's kind of cool there. Cool setup. And this was actually, Pitt had 2 finalists for the first time since 1963. Really cool thing there. Now, Ferrari in on the first period is actually able to get in on a quick takedown, and this is pretty much the only score of the match. He's in on a quick takedown, hard-headed double, as Ferrari does. He's so darn quick. Gets riding time, but Nino's able to escape. In the second period, Ferrari is on a nice ride, but kind of hit the wall with a stall call while on the ankle. He looks like he's stalling, to be honest, like kind of a lot. At least that's kind of what the crowd consensus was, that he kept stalling in on the ankle and while Nino was standing up. But Nino had to do a little bit more. He wasn't able to get it. He did get the escape with 15 seconds left, but still had that riding time on him. Ferrari in the third period was able to get the quick escape, but Nino was unable to find the legs in the third period. So what happened was Ferrari ended up winning this match by a score of 4-2 with the riding time. I mean, I wish I would have saw Nino Bonaccorsi attack just a bit more, but he wasn't able to. And Ferrari, I mean, he's just so tough to get around. And I mean, just look how big the kid is. He's a freshman, and this kid is jacked. He's probably one of the most jacked kids at the entire tournament. No wonder he deadlifts so. No wonder he looks so big. It's because he deadlifts so much. And again, I'd like to know, what did you think? Now, I will say he had a crazy semifinal celebration, and I'm okay with celebrations. He was a little bit excessive in the semis, but from him and from every single competitor in the finals, well, there was a couple of celebrations, everything was professional. Ferrari was professional in the finals, maybe a little talkative in his interview afterwards, but still professional. Still a little bit of a loudmouth, that's kind of how the kid is. And speaking of guys who like to run their mouth, but kept it professional the whole tournament, was Gable Steveson. He beat Mason Parris 8-4 in the finals. And look, they call it a big quote-unquote rivalry. It really isn't a rivalry because Gable's won every time, as he said that in the past. You see here, I don't know if they showed this on TV or not, but I kind of caught this. Gable was just eyeing him down. He was mirroring every single position that Mason was walking before the match started and just kind of mocking him before they even got out onto the mat. But he was able to, I mean, Parris brought his A game. And he was the guy who, both these guys essentially bonus everybody up until the finals. The only guy who didn't, Gable didn't get the bonus on Greg Kirkfleet. That was his only time that he didn't get bonus. But he did every single match other than that. He was the aggressor, and even in that match, he was the aggressor. And it was a tight NCAA finals, which wasn't surprising because the NCAA finals are tight. Even though Gable got bonus over him at Big Tens, NCAA finals are historically tighter matches, and especially if you wrestle guys multiple times. This is their third time wrestling. Now, Steveson was up after a takedown, 3-1 with the quick escape then in the second. And the third, Parris escaped, but Gable gets back in on a shot. and is able to get a couple of takedowns in the third period. Gable was pumped, by the end of the match whenever he secured the final takedown. And I think part of it was like relief. He gave a little thumbs up. He was excited that, he had pretty much secured the match when he was able to get the final points on Parris. And as maybe you saw on his Instagram and other things, just like his state championships, he ended up doing a backflip in the NCAA finals, which was really cool to see. The heavyweight can move, man. He can move, and I can't wait to see how he does in the upcoming years. If he decides, there's been rumors of him in WWE and football, going into multiple things, going after an Olympic gold medal. We'll see what he goes into, but best of luck to Gable. I actually ran into him in the airport. Cool guy, carrying around his trophy, as I would be too, if I had won a national championship, showing that off because, congrats to Gable Steveson. And at 125 pounds, the last match of the evening, and I get it to some extent because they want to put Spencer Lee and Gable Steveson back-to-back, okay, but it wasn't the best match of the night. Like I said, it was Nick Lee and Eierman, but Courtney gave it his all. He had a great run, beat Eric Barnett, who took 8th, beat Jacob Camacho, who's the number 6 seed, and Taylor Lamont, who ended up taking 5th. He ended up making the national finals. And look, he did every single thing right in the finals that he could have to try to beat Spencer Lee. And there are a couple things I do have to say about Spencer Lee, but he wrestled so darn tough. He was just fighting off his attacks, getting in on his own attacks on Spencer Lee, trying to fight off a tilt as much as he could. He did everything to prepare for this match that he could, but it still was not enough for the Spencer Lee, who had no ACLs in the national finals. Did you hear his interview after? What he said is quote, I didn't want to tell anyone about, not having any ACLs, having the torn ACL from Big Tens, but F excuses. Excuses are for wusses. And Spencer Lee, he's always been the fun guy, he's a beast on the mat, but he's a nice guy off the mat. And I've noticed kind of even a shift in his training. He was excited to really win those first 2 national trophies, and he was so excited for this. But it was just like, it's another day. It's another day. It's another match, another victory, another win. He didn't even walk out to the Pokemon theme song. He walked out to "We Will Rock You." Spencer Lee's a different person. He will be a different person going into his last year as a senior. And as far as the team scores, Iowa walked away with the championship before the finals even started. They wrapped it up. But Penn State started coming back in the finals. They couldn't have won, but they did still win 4 out of 4 matches. Iowa won 1 for 3 in the finals. Iowa had 129 to Penn State's 113.5. Oklahoma State finished in 3rd with 74 points. People were like, do you think they had 99.5 points, Do you think that Oklahoma State is going to be able to beat Penn State? Absolutely not. I didn't think that was going to happen. But they did have a great tournament. Arizona State, a phenomenal tournament with a couple of All-Americans, 74 points. Michigan was 69 points, and NC State, right behind them, was 64 points. What an absolutely phenomenal national finals. What was your favorite finals matches? Mine, obviously, like I said, was Jaden Eierman and Nick Lee, but I'd love to hear what you have to say and how you watched the national finals. Like I said, I was down on the floor, loved it all. And if you're looking for more wrestling discussion and everything else happening from the NCAA Championships on into next season, make sure you click that subscribe button or watch these videos right here.